Hello, everybody. My name is Sabine Wojcieszak. I'm here from Germany, and I'm happy to be here for the second time. My first DevOps Days Tel Aviv was in 2015, and yeah, it's wonderful to come back and be on this awesome event and explore the magic city. My topic today is Culture Eats Improvement Before Breakfast. I think I need to explain a little bit about this headline. Yeah? For me, breakfast is the thing of the day which delivers the first energy. After we have slept, we stand up and we have breakfast. Some of us do before we leave our home. Some of us do this at work. But no matter how your breakfast looks like, it's the first place of the day where you can get energy. And already the famous Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. He also included the term culture and eating and something and breakfast. And this was reused by Mark Fields, former president and CEO of Ford, and he extended this idea. He said, organizational culture eats strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So don't leave it unintended. Which means culture is really important, because if the culture does not work, strategy is gone. He says, if we want to do a corporate transformation, we need the powerful triumvirate of strategy, capabilities, and culture. And if we now look at his quote, culture eats strategy, we really see that these three are not aligned, but they need to be aligned to be the powerful triumvirate. So if culture is that bad, that it eats strategy for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, the transformation will not happen in a good way. So what is culture? What is organizational culture? This is a good question. Usually culture is the implicit rules that are the implicit rules of how we behave each other, how we work together, how we deal with each other when problems arise. And in companies with a good culture, perhaps this culture goes hand in hand with the philosophy, with the mission of the company and all those stuff. But we have a lot of companies which have written down some kind of vision, some kind of mission, or some kind of philosophy, how we want to interact with each other. This is on one hand. And on the other hand is how people live this. So culture does not automatically follow the written down philosophy of a company. Culture is the thing, are we able to live the philosophy we want to live, or do we other stuff? So culture is, in this case, a very practical approach how human and companies interact with each other. And this can differ from the expected behavior. So why before breakfast? So don't be shocked. This is me before breakfast. Yeah? So whenever we get out of bed, when we stand up, and when I do not have my breakfast, I'm not prepared to fight anything. Yeah? The only thing I want to is get dressed up, get makeup, and get my breakfast. And then I'm ready for the day, and I'm ready to fight whatever comes in the day. I'm also ready to fight a bad culture. In DevOps, you know this, the CI/CD, right? What does it mean? Yeah? This is your interpretation. Mine is, yes, the C is for the continuous, but the I is for improvement, and the D for the development of individuals and team. So CI/CD can also mean improving your individual skills and improving your team collaboration, all those stuff. In a continuous way, because improvement is one of the essentials of doing DevOps. Continuous improvement is one key factor of being successful in DevOps. This is why I choose the topic of improvement for this DevOps talk, although my examples will not come from technical companies, but that does not matter, because this happens again and again. So, who am I? I'm Sabine Bendixen. I'm from the northern part of Kiel, of Germany. The city is called Kiel. And we are working as consultants for companies who want to be more agile, who want to improve team collaboration, who want to do DevOps. And yeah, these companies are not all coming from the technical part. Because of digitization, we now have a lot of companies who are not technical companies, but need all these approaches for improving their work. And yes, it might look if I'm a really polite person, but sometimes I can be the real pain and pointing out the things which are not working very well. And this is important, because my whole life, I was always wondering why people are enduring bad behavior, bad teamwork, bad habits, and why they are not addressing those bad behavior. So where is the tolerance of enduring all those stuff? When do they say, no, this is not the way how people should deal with me. I don't want this. And I think it's an important skill for doing my job to point out all those things and say, no, we can do this better. So let's have a closer look. 23 years ago, I was hired by a company with a very strong hierarchy. We had the senior manager, who was also the founder of the company. It was a command and control system with very low trust, a lack of transparency, no appreciation shown in daily work. Blame game was very popular there, and no sharing. Because of job security, when I was the expert of a topic, I should be the only expert of the topic. Yeah? It does not make sense to share my knowledge with someone else, because then someone else could maybe get my job. So everything we don't want to have in DevOps, right? This is not the basic idea of DevOps. But what every employee was very good in was to cover your ass, to find out how to bring yourself out of the way and, yeah, blame perhaps someone else for things going wrong. And our culture was driven by fear. Whenever our senior manager called someone in for the meeting, fear suddenly was there. They started to sweat, somehow like the Niagara Falls under your arms. And so on. No one really wanted to be called in by the senior manager. And no one really wanted to go there and discuss stuff with him, because they were afraid of him. Why? Did we have a hire and fire mentality? No, we didn't. I was responsible for people development there, and from my point of view, we should have fired some people much earlier than we actually did. But somehow, the gossip factory was very great, and people were always telling that this company has a bad culture, and bad things are happening to employees when they have to go to the senior manager. Why? I can tell you. He has had a very bad habit. He was always asking questions in order to point out your stupidity, to make you look like a fool, and to point out your failure. But the worst thing about this is, this happens no matter who was around. Not only in a face-to-face conversation, but also within the group. And he did it with no respect to the role of the people or the whole situation. And he also did it with his general managers. We had several branches out of our headquarters, and every branch has a general manager. And when we had a meeting with general managers, and some managers said, oh, I have got a question, there might be a problem, he did exactly the same thing with our managers. And they were also afraid of him. I was in a position, he called me in for a meeting with our managers, 25 people sitting there. It was my second week in the company. And he tried to do this game with me. I listened to him for a while, and then I said, okay, I think this is the thing we should discuss afterwards in a face-to-face meeting. Perhaps this might make much more sense because it's not interesting for everyone else here. And he was just smiling, nodding his head, and said, yes, let's go on. So he was happy. But there was another problem. Whenever you came up to him with an idea, he said, this is a bad idea. We can't do this. Few weeks later, he sold this idea to everyone else in the company as his own idea. For me, it was okay because I thought what we can take out of it is the most important stuff. But after some times, it was really hard because he never let people shine. He never gave someone the 1 minute of appreciation, the 1 minute of saying thank you or something like this. He took it as his own idea, he sold it as his own idea, and he never ever told anyone that this idea came from another person. So, what was about our middle management? The middle management was afraid, too, but they thought it is a good idea to copy and paste this behavior without understanding what's behind it. So we had the senior manager, the middle manager, and all the general managers in our branches who are afraid of him, but were behaving exactly in the same way. I asked him, what is your motivation in doing such stuff? All these people who have these responsible roles, who are very important for our company, are afraid of you. Why are you always showing them that you are the big boss? You need people who take responsibility for what they are doing. And he said to me, I want to see when do they say stop it. And for him to say stop was a very important thing to trust them. But nobody understood this game. This was the bad thing about it, yeah? So his intention was to find out when do people say stop, to find out if he can trust them or not. But people were so afraid that this game did not work. Improvement in our company? No one really wanted to go to him and say, we have a problem, we need to improve somehow. No one wanted to sell an idea to him because he would take the idea and sell it as his own. So we had nearly no improvement. Everyone was just there and saying, I'm working here from 9 to 5, and that's enough. But today, the thing about the amount of people working just from 9 to 5 and the amount of people who engage for the companies is for most companies the game changer. If they will stay competitive and if they will be successful in life, we have to change the amount of people who really engage for what they are doing and reduce the amount of people who are just doing their job. So we need to motivate them. And people who are really motivated and engaged, they will also give in ideas how to improve stuff. I quit someday. I can give another talk about the reason why. So the result was, at one day I said, that's enough for me, I need to go. I need to take the consequences. Yeah, and I was on the conference in autumn this year, also another DevOps Days, in 2018, yeah? 23 years ahead of my first experience. And we had an open space, which is also happening this afternoon. And we asking the question, who is responsible for changing culture? The answer was everybody but. And at the end of the discussion, it turned out that most of the people sitting there, all doing DevOps, said, I am afraid to speak up when something goes wrong in the interpersonal, intercultural behavior. I'm afraid of losing my job. 2018, DevOps. where all these things are essential parts of our collaboration. So in 23 years ago, it was okay for me. But now we should have had a mindset change where we have learned that fear is not a good approach to improve and not a good approach for collaboration. And still it is there, even in a DevOps environment. So let's have a look at some bad habits which are eating improvement before breakfast. One is use power for bad. Yeah, that's true. Make people look stupid. Might be funny for the one who's doing it, but not good for collaboration, trust, and all those stuff. If you're too provoking, it can go into the wrong direction. Sometimes being a little bit provocative is okay, but if it's too much, it can make the people shut their mouths. Fear is definitely not a good way how to run a company or a team. And the gossip factory is not helpful for improvement. Yeah, and if there is no chance to shine for people, in which way ever, it's really hard to bring in some ideas what we can do. So let's take a look at nowadays. I'm also lecturing at the university, and we have a program for foreign master students, Master Information Engineering, from all over the world, India, Pakistan, China, Iran, Iraq, all over the world. And last year, I got a lot of emails and requests for appointments where students, the foreign students, told me about mental health issues. They complained about that they are not able to deal with what is going on at university, and that they have real hard problems and that they are suffering from that. So it was not only one student or two, it were a lot of students. And all students which are not actually joining my classes anymore, they already finished my classes. And at some point I said, okay, this is a problem we need to discuss. And I sent an email to the dean and said, dear dean, we might have a problem. We really should discuss it. And I reported about this problem, that a lot of students, I also gave a number of the students, addressed me and told me about their health, their mental health issues. And that we should think about what we can do to protect this, because we have perhaps cultural gaps and all those stuff. It took some time. 3 weeks later, it was a Saturday morning, I got the answer from the dean, and which says, dear Mrs. Wojcieszak, that can't be, because you are the only one who is reporting this. Even our professor for special affairs hasn't heard about this. So, it can't be because I am the only one who's reporting it. Might be that this problem is not that obvious, because not everyone is running around and saying, hey, I have mental health issues, can you please help me? Who is doing that? No one. You need someone you can trust to express yourself. So we had a professor for special affairs, and he should usually be this person students go to, but out of some reason, they don't have trust to him. And the worst thing was that 12 people I haven't spoken before were on BCC. So he sent around my email with his comment that this could not be to a lot of people I have never talked to before. Can you imagine what was happening inside of me? Usually people would say, okay, that's not my business. I'm just a lecturer, not a professor at this university, so it's not my business anymore, I go. But I was in fight mode. Because I really like my students, and I'm really taking care of my students. And if people come to me and complain about such things, I start to fight for them. And the first thing was that I asked the dean for a meeting where I wanted to tell him, you can write whatever you want to me, but please do not put 12 people I have never talked to on BCC. If we need to discuss something, let's do this together, not with everyone else. He tried to tell me that he is the one who is deciding to lecture at the university, and that I'm usually not fulfilling the requirements and all those stuff. Perhaps he thought I might be afraid of losing my job there, but this does not work with me. So there was another meeting which was called in by the professor of special affairs. He wanted to tell me that this is his job, and I don't have to discuss such topics with my students. And I said, why not? When students come to me and discuss this with me, and I'm open enough to discuss it with you, I share the problem. Why should I not do this? Yeah, you have to send them to me. I said, I always do this, they won't go. So he wanted to point me to my limits in this job. Then there was another meeting with the vice president and several other professors. We discussed the question, do we really need goals when we want to change the actual way it is? Because at the beginning I asked, before we try to find out what we do next, perhaps we should point out what is the goal of it. What should be the goal? No, we don't need the goal. That was not important. Then another professor tried to point out that it's my fault, because I'm talking about all the soft skills stuff in DevOps. And that's the reason why students suddenly feel mental ill and come over to me, because I'm talking about this. It's my problem. And we had the always discussion. One professor told me the students are all bad, because whenever he had an appointment with the students, they always come late. They always leave during the meeting without an explanation. And I asked him, that's crazy, because I have had, I think, about 70 meetings with students over the last year. No one came late and no one left the meeting. So please let me know, how much is always? What does always mean to you? Yeah, I think there was one guy who left. Yeah, and the other two who didn't show up sent me an email before. So, okay, no always. But this always was in the head of the people. And the always was what he said as some kind of gossip to all other professors. We had a meeting of 90 minutes. 90 minutes with all these high decorated, expensive people. Result? Another meeting with 2 vice presidents and more professors. No appreciation. It was after working time, with only a bottle of water and some very dry cookies on the table. But okay. We had the question, what common goals versus individual goals? And we definitely had one professor who stood up after a time and said, okay, my individual goal is reached, I can leave. He didn't stay until the end because he had the impression his personal goal was reached. He expressed it in that way and he left. Not interested if we are able to reach the common goal to improve the whole course. Yeah, no idea in this. We had a lot of professors who are experts how to run projects in a professional way. All the expertise were on the table. But the practical part was on another side of the story. And I said, hey, we all are professionals in project management. But what we are doing here is some kind of first class. First class in school. Yeah? I think some children could do it better. And suddenly the vice president told me, stop it. I don't want to hear this anymore from you. Okay? So my arguments were not interesting anymore to the vice president. They found a pseudo solution which was that 2 students from the bachelor's course should help 250 foreigner students to learn more about how it works in Germany. 2 students from bachelor's course should help 250 students from other countries to improve their studies and get rid of their mental health issues. Good solution. And yeah, already it was who should we blame for this? So the idea of the whole meeting was not to find a good solution to make it better. It was a very political arrangement of people sitting together, trying to cover the rest and get rid of more work. This took 3 hours. Again, try to calculate how much money this could be. This was my reaction after this, and I said, okay, I'm doing my lectures. I'm not interested what the university is doing anymore. I'm just doing my lectures. I will help the students as much as I can, but I will not try to improve the situation. So we have already some aspects, bad habits, and we can put some more on it. No clear common goals are very bad for improvement. Interfering goals, so which means personal goals versus common goals, when they do not fit together, are very, very dangerous. Also, the attempt, if you want to threat someone or don't show appreciation, if an open discussion is not wanted, and if there is no interest also in the bad news, this is really hard for improvement. And does this only happen at university? No. Last week, I met the former CEO of a mid-sized company, and he told me, for him, in his times, he had to spend a lot of time to get rid of the middle management filter. He spent a lot of time talking to the employees without the filter of the middle management in between, so that he can really hear what problems are there where the work is done. Yeah? And in that same afternoon, I met an IT manager from another company, and he told me, I could not report this to our C-level. And I said, why not? Because they will not understand the problem, and they will not understand the solution. So I will not tell them. And I asked, what are you telling them if they ask? I would say everything is fine. So the C-level needs to be able to hear bad news as well. They should want to hear bad news, but they also need to be able to hear the bad news. And if the middle management is filtering out all those stuff, they are not able to hear the bad or the good news. Another point which comes up again and again when I discuss with teams about improvement is that they say the lead time of ideas when they talk the first time about the idea until something is done about it is much too long. It takes more than a year or something like this if things are improved, and then no one remembers anymore, and maybe this improvement is not right anymore at that time. So this also leads to the point that they often have the impression that decisions are not made in time. That it takes too much time until management makes a decision. A few days ago, I found this quote by Jürgen Appello on Twitter. I think you know Jürgen Appello. All I want for Christmas is fewer brilliant ideas and more brilliant execution. So we have a lot of ideas. And in many cases, that's it. We have ideas. Sometimes we do some half-hearted attempts to bring these ideas to life, but half-hearted is not enough. If we have ideas, and if we are really convinced that these ideas are good to improve our whole culture, our whole system, we should have brilliant execution on these ideas and really spend some efforts on executing. So we can extend the list. The middle management filter is also not good for improvement. we can add the decision and decision-making time, which are maybe bad habits for improvement. Also the lead time, which is too long. But when does it all start? Thank you very much to Sharon for sharing this picture with me. It starts at the very first beginning. Sharon shared this picture that was her first day in the new company. Very welcoming atmosphere, her place was arranged for everything. And yeah, I think if you join this company and they will welcome you in this way, you know that they really appreciate that you come to them. But is this reality at most of the companies? Oh, Sabine, can you take Mike over? He has his first day today. Can you show him around and introduce him to others while I was looking for a laptop for him or something like this, which is the other side of the story, but which is the reality in some companies. So we are always discussing what can we do to motivate people. But the better question is, what can we do to not demotivate them? Because with everyone who is joining our company, you can be sure that this person is really highly motivated. And this person offers you a very unique ability. This person has still the look from outside. Is not caught up in the politics of the company. So if you welcome a person from the first day and say, we are really happy to have you here. Please share your impression with us. And please share with us what can we do to perform better, to improve. We are really happy about this. But if you have your first day and you have the impression that they forgot that you come, it's a really negative start. Yeah? I still want to change the world. But as I don't have the source code, I need to find another way. And this way is that we all can start with ourselves to change the world. We don't need the source code for it. We can start with ourselves. And maybe we are like the wing wave of a butterfly, which is at the end motivating other people to join us. And if we want to start with ourselves, we need to be brave. We need to come out of our comfort zone. And we need to take responsibility for our own behavior and also for what we are willing to endure or what not. This also means that we should really behave like grown-ups in our professional life. And actually, I really like the way how Google employees are fighting bad behavior from their top management and say, we don't like this, this is not our philosophy. They stand up for it. And I say, this is not what we want. And I think from perspective of self-respect, we really need to do this. If things are not the way we want them to be, it's about us to say this. And we need to protect things in our culture which are good. But we also need to fight bad behavior in our culture if this is dangerous for our good culture. So here are some good habits for improvement. Use power for good, and we all have power. It's not defined by your role, it's defined by your personality. And everyone has power, everyone has influence, we can use it. We can help people to grow, and we can give them their minute of shining. We should welcome people and we should welcome ideas, even if it turns out later that this idea is not the idea we want to bring to life. But first of all, we should welcome this idea because it's important to get ideas, to collect ideas, and then to find out what we really want to do. We should fight the middle management filter. If you're a manager, don't filter out what you give up to the C-level. Just go on and let them know reality. What is reality in our company? Reduce the lead time of bringing ideas into life and make decisions. A decision is also to say no. Yeah? Nothing is worse than no decision. And sometimes it's good to say no. Then you can cancel it from your list and go on with the next one. Take care about news, the good and the bad one. We can learn from both. Align organizational goals. Foster transparency. Foster and protect the good things and the good habits. Fight against fear. Fight bad habits. Be brave. And I think when you look at this list, you see these are all things every one of us here in the room can do. We don't need to be a consultant for this. We don't need to be a manager for this. This can be done by everyone in a company. And take responsibility for yourself, for your job, for your culture. Because it is about you. If you want to work in a good culture, it is up to you to protect it and to fight for it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please ask me in the break. Yeah? Thank you.